Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes. Good morning, friends. I'm so glad you're with me this morning. I have this wonderful story to share with you and then a fun craft that we're going to do together. So this morning we are reading the book, Thank You, Amu. Amu, let me just give you a little background. So Amu means queen in Igbo, which is the language of Nigeria. The author, Oge Mora's parents were Nigerian, and Amu was what she called her grandmother, even though it does mean queen. And I think either could be interchangeable. So we're going to hear this wonderful story, Thank You, Amu. Take the jacket off just so it's a little easier to hold. Here we go. Want to say good morning to my friends. I hope you are here this morning. Miss Pennell, Miss Jackie, Aaliyah, Donovan, Dorian, Adisa, Naru, Hayden. I hope all my friends are here this morning. New friends, please say good morning. We'd love to know you're here, and we love it that you're joining us for story time. All right, let's get started. And it does give us a little note here. Note to read, Amu is the Igbo term for queen. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I've ever had. Boy, that looks delicious. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, around the block until, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. Little boy, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was playing with my race car down the hall and I smelled the most delicious smell, the little boy replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Stew, he said. That sure sounds yummy. What do you think Amu's going to do? Let's see if you're right. Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said, and he went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, around the block until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. And when Amu opened the door, this time she saw, who do you think she's going to see, friends? Let's find out. A police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ah, stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. What's Amu gonna do? Do you think she'll share? I think so. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. Boy, Amu is showing such kindness to the people in her neighborhood. I like that. And for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, around the street, around the block until knock, knock, knock. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block and I smelled the most delicious smell. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied, what is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew. The vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. And we know what Amu's going to do, don't we, friends? Boy, she is a very kind grandmother. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and he went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And every time they knocked, Amu shared. Amu has a very big heart, my friends. We should all strive to be like that. Soon, the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Oh no. Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone and I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We're not here to ask. We are here to give. Oh boy, I think they caught her very kind spirit, didn't they? The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. That dinner was the best she ever had. Thank you, Amu. So boys and girls, wasn't that a beautiful story? We learned how important it is to give, and then in giving, all of those people she gave to so selflessly came back and brought her something. Now, we don't give or do kindness to get it back. We do it because it's the right thing to do. And as we tell you at school, boys and girls, being kind helps you grow closer to God. Today, we're going to make a craft that goes along with kindness. So I'm going to come around here and we are going to work on a kindness jar. Because when I was thinking about what kind of really good craft could we do here, I thought we could collect acts of kindness and fill up our jars and see how long it would take to fill the jar. Maybe a little bit trickier right now as we are not out of our houses a lot, but in your homes and in your families, I bet you're seeing a lot of very kind acts among the people in your family. So I did a little bit of hunting around in my home. And one of the things I noticed right now is we have to do a little bit of improvising or figuring out what we want to use based on what we have in our homes. So I didn't have exactly a jar, but I had this nice clear glass container that I'm going to use as my jar. And I was looking for a ribbon, but boys and girls, I couldn't find one. So I did some thinking and I found this nice gold loop on this gift bag, and I already pulled it off and taped it on, or you could glue it on just to kind of make it look pretty. And then I thought, boy, I should write on here that this is going to be my acts of kindness jar. So none of my markers I had really wrote well on there. I could write and tape, but I did have these from one of our experiments we did back earlier in this story time. So I'm going to do it in blue because all of you who know me know blue is my favorite color. And I'm going to write on here kindness, and I will show this to you, and it will show and it will stay until, being lefty is a little bit tricky here, until it's wiped off with something wet. But I'm not going to do that, so we're going to call it our kindness jar. Okay, and someone in your house, boys and girls, can help you spell kindness if you're not sure. So I have my kindness jar. And then I'm thinking, I have to come up with some acts of kindness. I had index cards that I could write acts of kindness on, and I could cut them up so that they're not quite so big because I want to get a lot of acts of kindness in here. And an act of kindness that I noticed the other day when I was at school was Mr. Martinez, our maintenance person who's working so hard to get ready for you to come back to school in August, was doing some cleaning. But he came into the office I was in and cleaned off the desk to make sure it was nice and sanitized for me. So I'm going to write Mr. Martinez cleaned office. And that was an act of kindness, so I'm going to put it in my jar. Because later I might want to pull those out and read them to remember all the kind things. But then I also thought, well, I have this bag that I've already taken apart. I can use this for strips of kind acts because it will also be very pretty in the jar. So just using what I can find in the house. So I'm going to cut these up so we can write some kind acts on here. So another kind act, oops, I picked that up. Another kind act is going on right now. Mr. Farrand every Tuesday, or most Tuesdays, films this for us. Takes time from his work, so that's a very kind thing. So I'm just going to write Mr. Farrand films story time. That's a very kind act. So I'm going to put that in my jar. You can see I'm adding it in. Another very kind act is something Miss Pinnell does every week. Every week, Miss Pinnell sends out story time to her boys and girls, and a lot of you are on here watching. So I want to make sure I remember that Miss Pinnell lets families know about our story time. That's very kind because she doesn't have to do that, boys and girls, but she knows you'll enjoy it, and it's important that we enjoy books together. So I'm going to put that in. Miss Fennell lets families know about our story time, and I'm going to put that in the jar. What other acts of kindness do you see in your family? I know in some families, brothers and sisters are helping younger ones. I hope you're helping your parents. I know your parents are being very kind and taking such good care of you while we're apart. But the good news, boys and girls, we're going back to school on August 17th. We are so excited to welcome you back into the building, and we are working hard getting ready. So until next week, when we have story time again on Tuesday, I hope you take good care of yourselves. I hope you find lots of acts of kindness to fill your jar. And please, boys and girls, send me pictures of your kindness jars. It doesn't even have to be a glass jar. You could use an oatmeal container. You can use a box. Anything you have in your house that you call the kindness jar will be the kindness jar and can collect those wonderful acts of nice things that people are doing for each other. Boys and girls, be well. I miss you. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.